Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of slides this morning, but again, welcome to the Double Up Food Bucks Farm Direct check-in meeting. At our last Double Up Heartland collaborative meeting, which you've met already some of the coordinators from that group. We thought that there was enough changes and things like that going on this year that perhaps it was worth just having a check-in meeting with all of our Farm Direct folks, just so you are as up to date as we are, and you will soon see that that there are a lot more questions right now than there are answers, but we will give you as much information as we have at the moment, and we're really excited for another Double Up Food Bucks season. So let's just dive in and get started if I can figure out how to make this thing go forward.
Yeah.
Where is it?
There.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That one. Okay. So probably the piece that I believe is on most people's minds, and I saw this in the form that some farmers market managers had asked the question of, how long are we going to be able to do Double Up Food Bucks? And so where are things going with the program? I don't know that I can give you the definitive answer of how long the program will run in the future, because we're still working on that. We are working every day to try to figure out how we keep this program going, and you will see later in our conversation that we may need your help at some point in the next few months on that, or maybe even sooner on the Missouri side. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I just want to update you on our current status of what we have right now and what we are working on for the immediate future. So right now, we have 3 basic sources of funding that are supporting the program. We still have some funding left from the 2 current USDA grants that we've been functioning on for the last 4 years. So those will be spent out during this year. One of them will end June 30th, and the other one will end August 31st. So those will definitely be going away during this year, but we are going to spend them out. The third source that is currently supporting the program on the Missouri side is some funding that we were able to get the state legislature and the governor to include in the budget last year from state revenue dollars. So on the Missouri side, we have state funding, and we're hoping that all of the Missouri markets can really do really well between now and the end of June on Double Up Food Bucks, so that we can use as much of that funding as we possibly can. It was a little bit of a ride to try to figure out how to work with the state, even though the money was allocated with the governor's signature last July. The state actually didn't get us a contract that we could use until February 20th of this year. So we are trying to figure out how to use the state money, which is $2 million, between basically January 1 of this year and June 30th. So we are really trying to put as much of the, as many things as we can, within reason. Like they we're not charging incentives that are redeemed in Kansas to Missouri money, but we are definitely trying to utilize those dollars the best we can before June 30th. So those are our 3 sources of funds for right now, and they are they're solid, and I don't at this point have any concerns about any of them other than that, they will end. We also have private funding. For those of you who remember last year, we applied for the USDA grant, and we're not successful in that, but we do have some of the funders who had committed funds to that match last year that have told us that we can use some of their funds this year if we need to. So that private funding, I'm holding on to that private funding for later on in the year when we have run out of the opportunity to use the USDA and the Missouri funds. And the other reason why I am holding on to that private funding is because we are planning on submitting a proposal to the USDA for the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program opportunity if and when it is re-released. We have heard, some of you might know that USDA released that request for applications in January, and then it was rescinded for review by the administration. We have heard that any RFA that was rescinded will be given first priority for release once the USDA finishes their review. So, what we're trying to do right now is as much of the work as we possibly can to prepare for that proposal, knowing that they probably will reduce the amount of time that we have to actually get that proposal ready to submit. I've heard anything from, like 30 days to submit, which would be a huge amount of work. But we're trying to do as much work as we possibly can so that we are ready for that. So one of the tasks that we might be asking you in the next couple of weeks, next few weeks, is if you're interested in submitting a letter of support for that USDA proposal. We would be happy to have that letter of support from your markets. So we are still planning on doing that, and that private funding that I'm holding off on using would be our match to that proposal. The other piece that we're working on is also asking the state of Missouri to allocate or appropriate another amount of money, preferably another $2 million in their state budget for 2026. Currently, I have heard from one of the aides of one of the senators that I've been talking with about that it is currently included in the Senate Senate Appropriation Committee's version of the budget. And so I think the next two steps that have to happen in Missouri would be that the full Senate would have to approve it. And then then it will go back to the House to approve the full Senate budget. And then essentially they will have to approve it by May 9th. So we will know by May 9th if it is included, if it's included in the Missouri budget for this next year. So any questions about funding? Before we go on to the next topic. Okay. So that leads us to kind of this next topic of how do we start communicating with our state legislators a little bit more. It's becoming pretty clear that that we will need to look for a variety of different types of funding in the future. And it does seem that we really do need to have more conversations with our state legislators on how we possibly include double up food bucks as part of their, preferably as part of their core budgets. And believe me, I know that when I say this message to myself some days, I do understand that right now the political environment in both states is not all that favorable for this conversation, but the amount of money that I feel like we are asking for is I feel like we're really giving them a deal in terms of, it's not that much money to support this program at the state level, and it really does provide an incredible benefit to citizens who are receiving SNAP benefits in both states. So I feel like we have an amazing amount of benefit that we can bring the states from all kinds of different perspectives, including, not just from a SNAP recipient benefit, but also benefits to farmers markets, benefits to farmers, benefits to grocery stores, and just community in general. So the more we can have conversations with our state legislators, I feel, about this program, and the other piece that I think state legislators like to hear is that the program is in communities, really across both states. So we have a presence in a lot of different communities across the two states. Rural, suburban, and urban communities are benefiting from this program. So right now, if you're on the Missouri side and have a moment to just write a quick note, just a quick note that's very personal from your market, that just says, hey, we've heard that double up food bucks is currently in the Senate, in the Senate version of the budget. Just wanting to give you some encouragement to make sure that stays there. That would be fabulous. And that would be to your state senator. This summer, however, I do feel like the message I have heard from people who know more about how to relate and work with the legislature than I do, they've all encouraged me to, really start talking to our elected officials in the summertime after the session is completed, looking forward to the next session. So that's really what I think I would like to work with you all on, is maybe scheduling some time when we can meet with legislators in the summertime, just to inform them about the program, because I feel like a lot of our state senators and representatives just really don't know that this program exists in their communities. So that will be coming, so just alert you to that. Any questions about that? Okay.
Hi, I have a question, Ms. Swan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I agree that we need to lobby our representatives, but is there some type of crafted script that we could use that tells the benefits and
Yes.
the different statistics and whatnot for double up food bucks?
Yes, and we will provide you with updated information and an updated. In a few months ago, I created well, it's not really a one pager. It's really a 1.5 pager, but a page that that does provide sort of the context and what we're talking about, and I can also provide just a very short bulleted list of sort of, here's the basic points we're talking about. So I can definitely, we will definitely provide you with information.
Thank you.
And of course, I will add after that, like we will provide you information from the program as a whole, but I think probably the um, most powerful message is once you have sort of taken the time to share that general information, also share what your farmers market's experience is with the program, because that really is, I think, the most powerful message that our officials really want to hear about. So, okay. Any other questions about the conversations with legislators? All right. So on a not so fun topic, the 2025 implementation of the USDA policy. So over the last few months, we've really heard very, very loudly and very clearly from the USDA policy about the use of SNAP or EBT numbers. And so really it's very clear that they want to make sure everyone knows that no portion of the EBT number is to be used, collected, possessed, maintained, logged, or tracked for any purposes. Now, I do understand that logistically there might be some problems with this, but that is the policy that we are supposed to be upholding with the Double Up Food Bucks program. And all of you are aware that in the past, our customer record sheets has included, depending on where you are, the collection of the last 4 or 5 digits of that card. So we are in the process of trying to figure out a new process where we are not using the SNAP EBT card. And so we wanted to just make sure we offered an opportunity for, questions about the policy first of all, and then get into kind of what we are hoping will transition to this year. Is there any questions about this policy?
Hi, this is Paula. So I've already found at the city market, we have a large immigrant population, and so we're collecting the birth date initials, and we're having a large percentage of people that all have January 1st listed as their birthday, and they've got the same initials. And so we have a spreadsheet, that tries to track repetitive information so that we're not giving the Double Up Food Bucks more than the allowed amount for per day. So these transactions are getting flags we're seeing already, and it's not even happening busy yet. We're seeing a large number of flag transactions that we have to go back and flip through the receipts and look at those 4 digits as they're printed out on the on the receipts to verify. Otherwise, we wouldn't be issuing them to someone who probably deserves them. So
Mm.
just that's my feedback, and it's only just now. It's not even busy yet. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. And
I would agree with the similar initials and similar birth dates. Maybe not the exact same birth date, but definitely lots of similar initials.
yeah, I'm sure we're going to have lots of similar initials. It's the combination of all of them plus the zip code that I think we're thinking will be a strong enough ID that when we put them all in a big database, that we'll be able to at least attempt to get at a unique user number. But I do understand that this did not turn out very clear. This looks a lot more clear on my, I'm sorry for the blurriness. Yeah, so that I do know that for many of the immigrant populations, particularly, when you're talking about like Pakistani and Afghan and some of those immigrant populations, I know from my health department experience that, a lot of them may not even know what their birthday is, so that they know the year perhaps, but they would use a January 1 and then the year that they were born. So, I don't have an answer for that right at the moment, but I'm willing.
We're working through it. I'm just letting you know that yeah, everybody's a January 1. We just have a huge Southeast Asian population, and I don't know if it's they didn't know or the language challenge, but that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely experienced that before for sure, Paula, when I've helped with vaccination clinics and, families would come and everybody in the household has a January 1 birthday. And it's just because the day isn't recorded anywhere else. So, so they didn't really know. So it's legitimate. It's a legitimate, uh, phenomena that happens. So the question is, what do we do about it? If there's something else we could add on that is still unique, yeah, that's the question.
Donna,
Mm-hmm.
just a quick question. So the birth month is to be 2 digits, even if it's just like July.
Correct. So like June would be 06 or July 07. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Debbie, there hopefully is an example of that on the paper copy that I sent you all. Like an AZ 0101 as like an example to go off of.
Yeah. So the reason why we're moving to this, because of the policy, what we tried to do is come up with something that doesn't change. Because, we thought about, oh, the last 4 digits of a phone number or something like that. But we also know that, with the SNAP population, their phone numbers might change quite a bit. So, that didn't seem like it was going to be something that was, something that wouldn't change. So that's the reason why we ended up with this. And we were also trying to weigh, trying to pick something that wasn't so long that it was going to be even an extra burden, even though, this is roughly about the same number of characters that you were collecting in the past. So that's the reasoning behind what we chose. So I think let's give it a whirl, and then we always welcome your input, and after this season we need to look at doing something completely different for next year. We will have that conversation. Then the final piece that I think that we also are changing on the form this year is asking about household members, the number of household members in particular age groups. And the reason why we're asking you for this information is just so that we can have a little bit better, maybe more, a stronger way of communicating who we're actually serving and the numbers we're actually serving. Because right now, when I get all of the great data that Aaron and Eli and Lauren and Jolyn are collecting from you all, all that data is coming into one place. And we look at the unique users, those are only like the folks that are, that are using their card, right? So then I just use an estimated number based on census data on what household sizes are to really determine our overall impact. So these questions are being added so that we can really try to have maybe something that's a little bit better to determine how many people overall are being impacted by double up food bucks. How many people are really benefiting rather than just using an estimate. So that's why those are being added. And they also line up with some of the questions that Feeding America asks when people are going to other places for food assistance. So any questions about those?
I do have a quick question. This is Corinne here from the KCK Farmers Market. Sometimes, when we're doing these transactions, there can be a line, and we're also, trying to do senior farmers market nutrition program vouchers and lots of other things. And the asking these three questions, as well as first initial, last initial, birth month, and birthday, like this is gonna basically like double or triple the time of each transaction between the customer, which can be frustrating for both the customer and for the market manager who is, trying to juggle a thousand tasks on market day. Are there any, I don't know, I guess penalties or anything if things are moving too quickly and we aren't able to capture all this information?
I can only speak for myself. So if you could at least get the new customer ID number, because I think that's probably the most important for establishing a unique user number, and also for your own purposes, like if you're trying to make sure, trying to at least attempt to see if people have utilized their their $25 for the day. So I would prioritize that new customer ID number. For the household member ranges, if you could, I don't want to have you ask another question, but if you could at least find out if they've already used the program before, and you've captured that data probably before at another time, then then that might be a little bit less of a priority. But that would be my best thing. So there's not going to be a penalty for sure. We're trying to do the best we can at trying to estimate how many unique users we're serving and then the total impact of the program. But obviously, if you miss some folks.
Donna?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and one suggestion might be, I don't know how you feel about that, is to have like a clipboard with a paper that lists that family size that people can fill out while you're running their card. A lot of folks are filling out this exact same question at food banks and drive-through food distribution and food pantries. So they may be used to filling it out already. Then you have that data too. I don't know, just a thought, because there is a lot going on at that point of sale, I realize.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I also have one more question. Will the tracking on the back end, like through Total Pay, capture this new customer ID as well? Because the last 4 digits of the card number is how I um, is how I make sure my reporting is correct when I send in my information to Eli. Like those last four digits of the card are what shows up in Total Pay. So I need those to be able to match the transaction with each customer to make sure my reporting is correct. So is there any way to, now that we're not allowed to collect those numbers for us to, check that now?
I'll chime in here, Corinne. Good to see you, by the way. So we want to collect the number of Snap transactions and the total value of those Snap transactions because we refer to the customer record sheet to confirm that the receipt and the customer sheet are accurate. The like line by line transaction information on the EBT receipt is not the most important part. We're mostly looking to see like I said, the number of transactions and the total value. So
Okay.
if you use the digits on the EBT receipt for your own purposes, I don't know what to recommend as an alternative, but as far as our purposes are concerned, we don't really need to see a one-to-one match. We're more looking at the summary.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
I just have something to add to that. What we've done to try and make it, because we have so many people that are not don't speak English or have a smaller command. We've been asking people to provide their ID so that we can capture that information directly off of their ID, and that seems to make it go a little bit faster because we can get the initials and the birth date straight off of the ID. So that's worked well for us. And then we do use those four digits if we have a situation where it's been flagged because it's got the duplicate identifier. So I know it's going to show up on our reports as being that been given the double up food bucks, but we are verifying at the point of sale that it is a different user. But I don't know exactly, is that something that you want me to note on our thing, on our summary report, or that we're actually checking that? Because it will show up as being the same person because they have the same initials and the same birth date, but they're not.
I did work with a market last year that had two customers with the same last four digits and the same zip code on their EBT cards. So they just made notes on the side that they were different, and they added a little lowercase a or b at the back for themselves.
Thank you.
That's what I was wondering is if we have duplicates, if we could add an additional digit or number, letter, something after the birthday.
For mine, you can. Yeah. I don't know how everybody
That's
else
fine.
does, but it's fine with me. Good question.
I think as long as that was consistent, I think it would be difficult to track that customer throughout an entire season. But the real dream would be, let's say, to use the example on the screen right now, James Smith, January 10, and then there's, I don't know, Jenny Sobchak or something, January 10. They would both have an identical ID number. If James Smith was always JS 0110A, and Jenny was always JS 0110B, that would be the cleanest way to preserve that data. But I do think it is a pretty big barrier to keep one customer or multiple customers in mind throughout an entire season. So as much consistency as you can manage there, I think would be valuable, but we understand it's a tall order.
Yeah.
We missed the last four digits of the card as much as you all. I promise that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. Sorry. I just want to confirm. So the household member age ranges, once we collect that for each customer the first time, that's pretty much good enough for the season. We don't need to focus so heavily on collecting that again, or Should we still make a point to do that every time?
I think if you can, that would be great because family household sizes change quite often. Both
Okay.
are moving in and out, but obviously realizing that this is an extra burden, it's going to be really good for us to use this data to advocate for our funders to help fund the program because we're not telling a full story right now, but also realizing that that's not always an option. So you may want to try having the sign up like a clipboard for that customer to fill out their own family size each time if you've got a long line.
Okay.
I know it's a little easier for rural markets with less long lines than it is for the bigger markets.
And just so you all know, in the signs that you have been sent, we have included 3 cards that are like the one that's on the screen. So, and the reason why we did that was so that you can, if you want to, you can have them either, posted somewhere, so it's up somewhere or on that clipboard that Erin referred to. You can use them in a variety of ways so that hopefully people will be recognizing that this, they can see it, they can, understand that they need to provide this information. And over time, what we're hoping is that this won't take as much time as, the first time you might do it with each person. So that's why we provided you with those cards. So please utilize those cards. If you need additional cards with these questions on them, feel free to ask and we're happy to send them out.
I do not think I received those. Was this supposed to be with the tokens and
your tokens and small signs?
Yeah, I didn't receive.
Check. In case
Oh,
Erin,
Bev, I see your question about how you haven't received tokens or signage yet. Those are kind of coming in a rolling order. I'm not sure when your market starts, but I know Kathy's been working really hard to get all of those shipped out.
Okay, we start May 2nd. So
Okay,
week
soon.
from Friday. So yeah, we need them soon. Thank you.
What market is she in? Sedalia. Okay.
Let me double check and see what state that's in.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we are trying to get all the tokens and signs out as quickly as we can. We have had a very, very bad time with the United States Postal Service. So we're doing the best we can, but even though we're paying for priority rates, some of our boxes have not arrived for like a week to 10 days later, which is absolutely completely unacceptable, but what do you do? So we're doing the best we
Come
can.
and get ours if we need to, just to be sure, since we're cutting it close here. I would be happy to drive up to Kansas City to pick them up. So just let me know.
Okay. We'll get with you, yeah. What does token count at the start mean? We have whatever you sent us dumped into a drawer. Does one of the coordinators want to say token count at the start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
We do an open and closing count every time on all our tokens. So we have some that are, in surplus. So we set those aside and note that those are in a surplus, secure place. But we have enough to run a market or two that we count at the beginning and the end of each market.
Okay.
Yeah, and with this new contract, Ron, your contract should have a box with how many tokens you're starting the season off with.
Okay. Thank you.
Joshua had a question about providing copy of the EBT sales receipt. Do they still need to do that? I'm assuming not.
I'll say there are multiple types of EBT receipts that can be generated. I've seen some that look like the sort of receipt you'd get at a grocery store, and it's basically just summary information. And then there are much more complete receipts that you could generate that show line by line the transactions. I obviously don't work for the USDA. I don't know how they would feel about a market manager sending a receipt with EBT numbers to the Double Up Food Bucks coordinators for processing. But if it's possible for you to generate that more of a summary EBT receipt that only shows the total number of transactions and the total value of those transactions, that would be ideal. That being said, talking to some of my market managers before, it seems like the ability to generate those reports is a little bit different on every platform, and not every platform gives you the option of generating a summary. Some more or less require that more detailed report. So I would get in touch, or I would look at your system and see if it's possible to generate that summary. And then if it's not clear to you if it is or not, you could reach out to the manufacturer. For a lot of folks, that's going to be the folks at MarketLink. If you have grant support for your EBT reader, for example, and they may be able to provide more support about how to generate reports. But from our perspective, like I said to Corinne earlier, we only really need the summary. So if you can generate it without the detailed information, that would be a good workaround for us.
Any other questions? This has been a great conversation. Well, if there's no other questions, I just want to take the time to say to all of you, thank you so much for being part of this program and for bearing with us while we transition to a new year, new budgets, trying to figure out funding for the future. It's very complex, and of course, as a lot of things are right now, it's kind of there's some things we just don't know the answers to right now. So, but again, we appreciate all of your work, all of your dedication to your markets, and to providing this program to SNAP customers. And also, we appreciate your input and your support. So you'll be hearing more from us about our proposal and all that when we hear more from the USDA. But in the meantime, if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to either your coordinator or directly to Kathy and I. That's what we're here for. So please don't hesitate if you need anything in relation to Double Up Food Bucks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, good to see
Thank
everybody.
you.
There's a question about if you need to attend. The one on the 28th is the same as today.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, Kathy and Donna, can you stand for a second so I can ask you a question?
Yeah, I just saw your email.
Okay.
Let's see.
Looks like the other folks may have stepped away.
Yeah, let me
Did Garnett get sent? I don't see him on that tracking list right now.